Welcome, everyone, to our latest episode of Sisters in Service. I'm your host, Kat Corchado. You know me. And today, I have an amazing guest for you. I am sitting down with Tierra Duncan. She's an Air Force veteran, women's health educator, author, coach, truth teller, all the things. But she's not mostly, but she's also a myth buster when it comes to women's hormones. Tierra is the author of The Birth Control Illusion, Reclaiming Hormones, Health, and Your Cycle, which, by the way, already tells you she's not here for the half answers or outdated advice. She spent over a decade helping women actually understand what's going on in their bodies instead of just being told, yep, that's normal, and sent on their way. She brings together science, lived experience, military service, motherhood, and a refreshing amount of honesty. And I already know this conversation is going to have a few, wait, what? Moments. So we're talking hormones, birth control, body trust, and what it's like to serve in the military, which we all know about, but we're going to talk about her transition also and how all of that collides in real life. So Tierra, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Sisters in Service podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
So Tierra, I always ask my veterans this question. Did you pick the Air Force or did the Air Force pick you?
I think a little bit of both. I'm a military brat. My mom's also retired Air Force, 20 years.
Oh, your mom is awesome, man.
She's a rock star. So I grew up with it. But I also didn't give myself a lot of options as a kid. Wasn't a high performer. College was not going to happen for me. So I was fortunate enough to qualify and make it into the Air Force and completely change my trajectory in my life. So I think a little bit of both. It found me and it made me a better person. And I was also lucky enough to know about it.
What was your job in the military?
Yeah, so I ended up having two AFSCs or two job titles. First, I did avionics on the F-16s and A-10s. I don't know if the code has changed since for the first half of my career. And then the second half of my career, I did Intel.
Oh, my husband did Intel his entire career in the military. He absolutely loved it. He thought it was the best thing ever. He still talks about it. When I say, oh, tell me about this, he goes, well, if I tell you, I have to kill you. And I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Excuse me. Yeah, I will say there are very different cultures going from being a maintainer, that world, to the Intel world. But it was really cool to have exposure to two very different facets of what the Air Force can mean for somebody, right? From a career perspective.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I do know that in the military, when we're talking about taking care of our bodies, the military was made, I was going to say almost made it mandatory. No, it was mandatory to go to all your appointments, whether it was cervical, whether it was breast,
Exams.
Mammograms, all of that, you had to go there. So I think being in the military made me more aware of my body and what it was doing and making sure, because I'm not sure that women outside the military, I guess they're exposed to that. I'm not sure. But I know in the military I became very about my own health. And so I want to ask you, when did it become something that you said, look, we need to talk more about women and their bodies and their hormones? So when did you realize how much women aren't taught about their hormones?
Yeah, a lot of that happened after my kind of career and my transition out of the military. I think when you are, I can only speak from my experience. Being in the service, my focus was on my job. And I think a lot
as
of
it should be.
Right. No, as it should be, right? As a warfighter, right? And a lot of the things that maybe are common that women deal with, maybe period pain or mood disorders or things that we experience, honestly, a lot of that just kind of gets dismissed because you have a jet that needs to go out. You have a mission to serve. We need to save people's lives. We need to drop some bombs. We got to do something.
We got to do a job.
We got to do a job.
Absolutely.
And our job means a lot. So I think for me, that transition, once I left the military, I started doing coaching on the side, started with CrossFit and then kind of evolved. And through that journey of working with women, reflecting back on my own experiences, I started to just learn. I started to read articles and read books, find publications. And I'm like, oh man, what is estrogen? Why has no one told me what estrogen does?
Exactly.
What is birth control? I've been prescribed it. Do I actually know what it's doing to my body, good or bad? What does a typical menstrual cycle look like? No, these were things that I had never even thought about until I started working with other women and men too. But obviously, I wasn't worried about female issues working with
I don't think women
men.
are even taught what it is. They just say, okay, look, oh, you're a woman now. Woohoo. But they don't tell you the things that could go with it. You know, I can tell you my mother had no issues with her cycle at all. Me? Oh, you name it, A to Z. I had all of them. You know, menstrual cramps that were so bad I had to take medication, you know, having endometriosis, all of this other stuff. And I thought, how can it be so different
So different.
between all these women? Some are like, it's an inconvenience. And other women are like in bed for days, you know, and it just seems a little unfair because when they said, oh, birth control, I was like, okay, but I wasn't like you. I did not say, what is this I'm putting in my body at that time? Because I said, look, it'll help regulate your hormones. I'm like, hello, I'll take that. But I mean, what were you finding in all these things that you were reading? Were you like shocked at some of the things that maybe you didn't know, but shocked at some of the things that you thought you could look up and find some information and it was kind of just not there?
Well, funny enough, our stories are actually very similar. I was diagnosed with endometriosis at 17. I was put on birth control. I asked no questions. I went through my entire military career on birth control, didn't think anything about it, had other symptoms arise, and never put two and two together. And it wasn't again until I was on this journey and started doing research that I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be on birth control. You know, maybe that's not fulfilling the need that I went on it to serve, to not have painful periods.
Exactly.
Do I still need to have it? Are there other things I can do? What else can I learn about my body? And endometriosis is such a tough disease. It's a full body disease. A lot of people think it's just related to your uterus, but it's actually the tissue that it can grow everywhere. They found it in the brain and in your wrist, and it affects women so differently.
Oh my God.
The amount
really?
that you have, yes, it's literally a full body disease. And the amount you have is not indicative of the amount of pain you have. You can have microscopic amounts and be in excruciating pain. And it's not just around your period, which makes it even worse. So there are
even
women,
worse, yeah.
And there are women that are just in pain all the time because of that disease. And I didn't know that. I had no idea. So here I am being diagnosed with this almost like an autoimmune disease, right? And and didn't do any further investigating because we're told this will solve your problems. But when it's really,
this is just what women go through. This is just what you go through.
What women go through.
Yeah.
And instead of why is this happening? What are the alternatives? And then if you take this medication, or what are we going to be masking? And what might come of that? Right?
Out exactly after you've gotten off the birth control. But the other thing, the question I have is having endometriosis a precursor for fibroids? Or are they two separate things?
So I am not an expert in endometriosis. There are other professionals out there. Dr. Jolene Brighton is doing phenomenal work in that area. So I don't want to go beyond my scope, but I know that with endometriosis specifically, it has a lot to do with inflammation. We have these processes in our bodies called prostaglandins. It's what causes cramps. It also is what causes contractions, right, when we're giving birth. And there's a lot of studies on having maybe too much of that, and that reflecting in a lot of pain. But yes, there are some links, but again, that's a little bit out of my scope, and I don't want to speak too far into that.
Oh no, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being honest enough to admit that. I
Oh yeah.
truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
In the military, they would, I'm going to curse on this podcast because it's mine. They used to say, don't baffle me with bullshit. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're just like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
And so I so appreciate you saying that.
I definitely have heard of it, but I have not done my enough research to speak on it in an intelligent manner.
Right. So what is something you hear from women all the time that you think doctors should have been answering that question all along, or maybe didn't answer it in a way that someone could understand it? And what I'm saying is sometimes doctors talk up here, and I've always said I'm an ABC 1, 2, 3 girl, so talk to me like I'm 5 so I can understand. What's this one question, or maybe it's a couple questions that you hear constantly that throughout the entire time that you've been doing this?
Yeah. So really, when it comes to like our life transitions, perimenopause, menopause, puberty, right? My daughter has X. What does this mean? Or I'm starting to get hot flashes. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not interested in sex anymore. What's going on? I think women bring these things to the table, and like to you, what you said earlier, that's normal. That's just part of it. No. Right. And instead of just being like, that's just what is, that's menopause. Welcome to your 50s, or welcome to, whatever age that is. Doctors talk over that, talk past you, as opposed to, okay, tell me your symptoms. When did you start noticing this? Let's talk about the severity. Let's talk about your lifestyle. What does your nutrition look like? Are you getting any movement? What's your stress management? Do you have
So more
any
like a whole body thing. You're talking about doctors
Yes.
that could, but now you're going in 15 minutes you're out, and you're like, what just happened?
Yes. And sometimes being prescribed something, it's very common, even for women going through perimenopause. Hey, I'm having these symptoms. And it's like, well, here's birth control. It'll fix everything. Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Not exactly.
Right?
No.
It doesn't regulate anything. It suppresses and replaces
Yes.
with synthetic hormones. And I don't want anyone to think I am not anti-birth control. I am pro-informed consent. And the only way you can be informed on what's happening to your body is if you have the information and
Or
being
some,
told.
exactly. If you have some information,
Yes.
then you can ask appropriate questions. But sometimes I think what happens to women is we go in to the doctor and they'll say what's going on, and you kind of say, I'm not sure, this is happening, that's happening, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, oh, that's normal, or, well, you are getting older, and
Yes.
my response to that is, and they pay you to say that to patients.
And there are also women that are like, well, have you considered losing weight? And that is so dismissive, right? Because yes, body weight is important. Yes, staying healthy is important. But that doesn't mean that this person's not feeling those things. And so these are the kinds of things as to why I was so motivated to write this book, explaining. So within it, I talk about like, what is estrogen? What is progesterone? What is your cycle? What is birth control? And then how does lifestyle fit into this? People say, well, get enough sleep. What does that even mean? What is, right? Like, what is, there's all these. Like,
what is enough sleep for me? What is that? Because you don't know.
Because you don't know. And so I break it down. There are actually cycles in sleep. There are stages to sleep. And when somebody says, oh, I only need 4 hours, physiologically, that's not true, right? Maybe for like maybe a 1 percentile, and here's the reason why, right? Not just me saying, here's what it is, here's all the explanations, and then you have the information to do what you need with that, right? And there are also, I have a whole, in each chapter, I have questions to ask your doctor. So I'm here trying to give you the information and also prepare you so that if some of these things come up, you can go to your doctor and say, hey, I'm experiencing X, Y, and Z. Is this perimenopause? is this
Mhm.
a reaction to the birth control? Is this, do
Mhm.
I, do I need to eat more? Like what's going
What's
on
going
here?
on?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the other thing is that, it's now it's talked about all the time. Okay. But I think that when we go through perimenopause, we're not really sure what it is. We're kind of like, wait, what? But we don't put all the symptoms together. So when it started for me, I was just like, it's over there. It'll pass. And then it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then I tried to fix it myself with supplements, and not saying supplements don't work. They work for some people. They did not work for me. And finally, I had to get a professional. I went to a hormone specialist,
Yeah. Yep.
and, she took my blood work and she goes, "Oh, honey, you do not feel good," you know,
No.
and let me backtrack for a second.
Excuse me.
So when you transitioned from the military, how was your transition? I mean, was it okay? I'm out, and now I was in, now I'm out, and you just went. Some people hit the road running,
Mhm.
and I hit the road with a thud.
Yeah,
What was
my
your
transition.
transition?
Yeah, so I did almost 10 years in the
Hmm.
service. And then when I transitioned, I went straight to defense contracting. So because I
Oh.
went the defense route, I was still around military personnel. I was still serving a DoD missions, and spent almost 10 more years in defense contracting. And then I just last year uh, moved over to like a private uh, tech company. So I feel like I had it a little bit easier because I was still
Hmm.
around people in uniform. There was still some
Right.
sort of hierarchy. There's still some sort of
Hmm.
some accountability, but certainly working for the government is very different than working for military. I found
Right.
myself at times frustrated by the change in tempo.
Yes.
You're used to like,
Hmm.
hey, we got stuff to do. We got to go.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's go. And that wasn't the case.
Hmm.
And also, things just were a little bit slower.
Yeah.
And if,
Oh,
and if,
for sure. Yeah.
and if you worked with somebody that maybe wasn't uh, a good performer, the process in the military is very clear, right?
Hmm.
A lot of clarity in what we do, and
Yes.
it's not as clear on the civilian side.
It's very
So,
general. It's very general,
yes,
you know?
yeah. So that took about 2 years for me to kind of wrap my head around
Hmm.
um, with that process. Yeah.
But I know that we had talked about this in our connection call, how both of us being military brats, that even today, I can go on any base. I don't care if it's a Marine base, Army base, doesn't matter. I can be on that base and go, yeah, these are my people. Because
Yeah.
I feel so comfortable on a base. That's where I grew
Yes.
up my whole
Yeah.
life. And so being on a base is like, yeah, you get this sense of safety and this sense of
Yeah.
belonging.
Hmm.
And it was really hard for me, I think, to leave that. So Tierra, let me ask you this question. We as women sometimes are disconnected from our bodies, okay? For various reasons. It could be trauma, it could be whatever. And I feel as though sometimes that perimenopause is that wake up call, like, hello, pay attention right now. Do you feel that that's true? That women have been or are disconnected from their bodies up until perimenopause?
That's a very good question. It depends on the populations. I've worked with like high level athletes where these women are very dialed in to how they feel, what's going
Hmm.
on, the day to day, to women that are just trying to survive, right? I
Just
got
trying to
I got
get through the
four
day here.
I
That's
got four
it.
kids, I got my 9 to 5. I'm just trying to make it. And for those women, you
Hmm.
don't have the time, right? The weight of caring for maybe elderly parents or for children, the weight of taking care of your house and there's
Hmm.
just so much mental load. Absolutely. Like you,
Who has
it's not
time?
who has time. It's not uncommon, even though it's like stereotypical, it's not uncommon
Mhm.
for women to be let themselves go, but not make themselves a priority anymore. I
Exactly.
absolutely see that. And until your symptoms are screaming in your face and you're like, oh shoot, it's time for me to do something.
What's going on? I need to figure this out. It's funny. My husband always says, he'll say, what are you doing? I'm like, multitasking. And he's like, oh, well, multitasking just means that you're doing a whole lot of things, but you're not doing them very well. And I think that women, because of all the things that we take care of, we had no choice but to multitask. You know what I mean? Like, if we didn't multitask,
nothing would get done.
Nothing would get done, right? So think about a woman who's not only active duty military, but she's a mom. She's taking care of the household. She's still buying the groceries. She's doing all the things. I was a single parent in the military. Who had time to think about my body? If I was able to march and stand, in formation, they were like, you're good to go, and pass my physical and the test and everything. They're like, okay, you're good to go. So I think that it's almost being a woman, you are forced to multitask. And when you multitask and your brain is going in so many different directions, that it's not going here in your body to say, wow, what was that? And kind of be aware of it. So I think it's just interesting that, we should be, oh, I shouldn't say that. No, don't shit on yourself. Okay. There's that word again. I want us to be capable of saying, oh, because we know when our kids are sick before they even know they're sick. You know what I'm saying? We're dialed into them 24/7. Or even in the car, ooh, there's a ding. What's that ding? Why is it doing that? But when it comes to our bodies, we're so not. So if you have a woman who has not paid attention to her body, and we're speaking specifically about perimenopause, all of this, and menopause, what's the first thing you say to her?
Oh man. Well, if she's coming to me and just being like, I need help a girl out, I don't know what's going on, then I literally will just talk about, well, how are you feeling? And you would be surprised sometimes just asking somebody, how do you feel when you wake up? I'm exhausted.
Yes.
And then I drink all this coffee, and then by 2:00 I'm exhausted again, but I don't have time. And I think sometimes just letting somebody express asking them, truly listening and asking them how they feel, those are symptoms. And I think we go, oh no, but that's fine. That's just how it is. That's no. No, those are symptoms. You waking up exhausted is a symptom of X, Y, and Z, right? And so if someone's coming to me, we just have a conversation about what their day-to-day looks like, how they're feeling, what their goals are, and then go from there. But a lot of it is listening and acknowledging that, hey, you might think this is normal, but you're supposed to feel good. And I don't think enough of us know that. We're allowed to feel good. We're allowed to feel.
We're supposed to feel good.
and not just like, a little bit of energy, like sexual and hungry and passionate and vibrant through all stages of life.
I think perimenopause and menopause are so all encompassing. It's not just one thing. It's like, you get this one thing and then bam, it's like, remember, oh, you're probably too young to remember Rock'em Sock'em Robots. It's like uppercut, body blow. But that's why I feel perimenopause. It's like, it's punching you everywhere. You don't have time to even think about what it could be because you're trying to figure out what this is. So when you talk to a woman, do you give her recommendations on what she could be doing? Like, there's so many things out there for perimenopause and menopause. And it's so, before no one talked about it. Now it's like drinking from a fire hose. Everything. So get this from this, take this supplement, do this, and you're like, you don't know. Now it's even worse now because you don't know in what direction to go. Do you help women make that decision for themselves?
So because I'm not a medical professional, I do not prescribe anything. I'm not prescriptive in nature. when I am talking to somebody, I usually go, have you had any blood work done? Do you know where your testosterone is? Do you know where any of these things are? Have you considered what's your sleep hygiene like? What's your sleep setup look like? Are there small things that you could do nutritionally that could help? Like, to your point, supplements can be very helpful, but only if your body's in a place to absorb those supplements. And, that whole like rabbit hole can be very confusing as well. Right. And also, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are just trying to sell you
Stuff.
bullshit.
Yeah.
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 Not for lack of a better
Absolutely.
term. So I think education, resources, and feeling heard, that way you can kind of digest all of that and then make the right decision. Because I firmly believe that what works for me is not going to work for you. It's not going to work for Susan. It's not going to work for Mary. We are all in different stages of life, have different stressors and things happening, and we all deserve not specialized care, but
yes, we do.
have,
Individually.
yeah.
I
To
think we
have our
do.
individual needs met.
Yes, absolutely.
But that starts with you recognizing, you being in touch with yourself, right? Not being disconnected from your body, and having other women to talk to, and hopefully other resources to at least,
start
at least
asking the questions.
start asking the questions. Yeah. And I'm just a firm believer in that. I do not believe this diet or this protocol. I just don't believe in that. I think that it has to be multifactorial, like,
it's a word now.
yes. It has to be a lot of factors that are going to get you to where you need to feel your best.
Yeah.
And that starts with informed consent and education.
I think when I was taking the supplements, you look on the back and it said recommended dosage, and it would say 2 per day. But I didn't understand how 2 per day could help me and 2 per day could help you, because we're both different people. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I kind of just backed off of that. I will be honest in saying that I do the pellets. I get pellets done.
Great.
And trust me when I tell you, I went to this place 3 times before I said, okay, let's do this. Because I kept having questions. Keep going back. Don't get caught in the, do this now, because if they do that, that's not the place for you. I kept going back. I said, I have more questions. They were more than willing to answer all my questions until I had no questions. And the only thing I had to do then was action. And so what happened? I know you had written a book. What was the name of your book again?
The Birth Control Illusion.
Okay. What is the birth control illusion?
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing.
No, of course not. Yeah. So it goes back to kind of my ethos and everything, right? Like, you can't make decisions unless you have the information. And so the birth control illusion is to make sure that you have, how do all these things work in your body? What are the right questions that you can ask? Or maybe it will stimulate new questions and making a decision from there. Because again, for a lot of women, birth control is something that's prescribed for not birth control reasons, right? And so let's look at that. Let's evaluate it. Not good or bad. Let's just look at it. Are there other things I can treat or do to kind of approach the situation? Just to go back to your sharing of the pellets, I think HRT or hormone replacement therapy is a great option for a lot of women. But I also think that if you go into it, you should get blood work and find functional doctors or hormone therapists
absolutely.
that are going to listen to you and not just try to sell you what you need, and understand what kind of hormones you're going on. Because there's a very big difference between bioidentical hormones and the types of hormones you see in birth control, the synthetic hormones.
Yes.
But a lot of us, we don't know.
What's the one thing, Tierra, that you learned about birth control that no one ever told you or even told us? Was there anything when you went, holy crap, I did not know this?
Yeah. So on the birth control pill, there's a withdrawal bleed. right? You do
Mm-hmm.
the pill for so many weeks, and then and then you're off of it, and you get the bleed.
Mm-hmm.
I always assumed that was like a period. It's not. It's not a real period.
What
It's
is it?
it's just your body responding to the withdrawal of those synthetic hormones. A real
Oh,
period involves ovulation, and
yeah.
ovulation is what creates progesterone, our
Mm-hmm.
calming, the thing that helps us calm. Um, I didn't know that, and when I started looking into the research, the reason that that exists is because the
Mm-hmm.
doctor was trying to sell it. And there were a lot of researchers and religious figures that weren't comfortable with the idea of a woman not having a period. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not there for any biological reason. It's there to make
Mm-hmm.
you feel more comfortable about taking a synthetic hormone. And that blew my mind. I was like, oh, number one, it, it's not a real period. And number two, it was input it just to make you feel more comfortable. It doesn't even have a real medical necessity to be there.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I remember like reading that and being like, oh, okay, crazy.
I find it interesting that I finally, at the age of 68, feel very at home in my body, which when we're younger, we don't. Do you think that when we
Yeah.
finally understand what our body, like we finally think we have a handle on our bodies, we don't completely, but when we finally think we've kind of figured it out, that we feel more at home in our bodies in
Oh,
every sense of the word?
absolutely. And again, I think a lot of it comes with that understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I feeling this way? How does my body respond to things? And I'm actually really excited for like I have a 2-year-old daughter, for her to grow up in this kind of new era of education for women, for women's health,
Yes. Yes.
because me growing up in the 90s, really,
Mm-hmm.
heroin chic and thin everything and no fat,
Mm-hmm.
low fat everything.
Oh,
I'm just
God.
excited that we have, yeah, that was
Don't bring
my,
back bad memories.
I know, right? And I ate diet food until I was in my mid 20s because I thought that I really genuinely thought I was big healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and anyways, I'm very excited for this newer generation of women because I hope they understand movement, that like how
Mm-hmm.
it's beneficial, whether that's yoga or running or lifting weights. They understand
Mm-hmm.
nutrition.
Yeah.
There's no enemy. Fat's not bad. Carbs aren't bad. You need these
I know.
things.
They're like, oh, you shouldn't be eating that. I get told that all the time. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Trainers aren't
Um,
supposed to have ice cream. I'm like, then I'm just, yeah, okay.
I love ice cream. Um,
Me
and
too.
I really hope that they get my hope, my wish is that because now we have all this knowledge about perimenopause, menopause, women are talking about
Mhm.
it. Even things like
Yes.
pregnancy and postpartum, miscarriages, like these things are actually being talked about. And I hope these young women are able to feel better in their bodies sooner than we did
Hmm.
because they'll
Oh,
have all this information.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Tira, what do you have coming up that you want to tell our my audience?
Oh, yeah. So the book launches in February 26th.
Ooh,
I'm very excited about that.
congratulations.
Yeah, pre-sale should be dropping soon, but in the meantime,
Hmm.
I drop hormone information, little
Hmm.
tidbits, education stuff on my
Hmm.
Instagram, Tierra Duncan author, and also I have a YouTube as well, Tierra Duncan author. Uh, yeah, and I just like sharing information and education. I'm
Hmm.
not trying to sell anything other than my book, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's no plans. I don't have any like magic pill for you to
Hmm.
take, and this is going to fix everything.
Yeah.
I'm just really pro. Let's all get on the same page,
Hmm.
and then you decide what you want to do with your body and your
Hmm.
life. And I don't know. I'm just excited to be in the field, and
Hmm.
I want women to feel amazing, like beyond amazing. I want us all to be in
Right.
our own power. So
Yes.
yeah.
I think that we are so fierce when it comes to standing up for our kids and standing up what we believe in.
Oh yeah.
And then when it comes to our own body and ourselves, we're kind of like, we just shrink like this. If you are on the verge of perimenopause, or maybe you don't even know where to start, start asking questions and
Yes.
keep asking questions.
Yes.
There's so much information out there now. Look at it and say, wow, that pertains to me. Pick the stuff that pertains to you
Yeah.
and keep asking questions. And I think it's important that, we just kind of figure it out for ourselves, not by ourselves, for ourselves. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I will ask questions until you'll be like, Kat, I gotta go.
Look at the time. I gotta get going.
But I think it's necessary. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. If you don't know, you don't know. And Tierra, I think we could probably talk about this like for a much longer time. But I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. This conversation was so good. And honestly, I feel like we could keep going for another hour.
I love talking about women's stuff all day, every day. There's not enough of it. So
there's not enough of it.
Time, Kat.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing so much clarity, real talk, and calm into a topic that usually feels confusing or intimidating, or both. I love how you help women stop fighting their bodies and start understanding them instead. So if you're listening and thought, wow, why did no one ever explain this? You're not alone. We all went through that. But here's the good news. It's never too late to start learning your body's language. Our bodies talk to us all the time. We just have to listen. So you will be able to find Tierra's book, The Birth Control Illusion, and more of her work in the show notes. I will make sure that once we get that linked here, if you can send that to me, I'll make sure everyone has that. Absolutely. So thanks for hanging out with us today. Keep asking questions, keep getting curious. And as always, please stay safe, take care of each other. Until next time, and please remember, it's never too late to start your impossible.